All right, so you could look at it after I tell you this and say, "Oh, you wimped out, Jeff." And okay, all right, but we're going to go over this. The thing is, it was written for MVC 3, so we're going to try to bring it into MVC 5 world. Okay, that's the good news. I've gone through the first 4, and I actually have lectures out there for those first 4. But I'm on step 5, and I can't get it to work, so I'm going to see if, as a class, we can get it to work. We're going to do this nice and slow. If we get done with the first X today, whatever X is, that's fine. Then we'll continue on tomorrow. If we can finish and get all of it to work by tomorrow, that'd be fantastic. All right? I think there's as good a chance of that happening as my hair growing back by tomorrow. But you never know. All right? It could happen. Remember, Wednesday, Ms. Zika is coming in here. So my hope is, even if we finish up a little early tomorrow, that you're going to have something to show her that's going to be as close to the finished product that we're going to show on Thursday as possible. During the break today, I'll stop over by Mr. Braden, the public safety coordinator, and ask, hey, I put in that request for the van. I didn't hear yes or no, but my hope is it's yes. So I plan on leaving here like we did last time. We left right around when class starts. So it was around 12:35. All right. I'm taking it that Tiffany will be back by then. But otherwise, if she comes up here, I'll try to put a note on the board or something. It'll be just like last time. And I'm going to try to be fair to you guys because I think you've done a lot of work in this. Like I said, she's really happy. All right. Probably a lot happier. And she's a lot more sane when you just sit there and talk with her. I mean, I know sometimes she gets so excited in here, she almost sounds to you like, oh, wow. But, she has just told me, she said they have made me realize things that I didn't realize before. And she mentioned the database group and how you've helped her to understand relationships that she didn't even know were there. So she's been really happy about things. All right. And my hope is, like I said, when we go in there Thursday, are we done then? I don't have any idea. I don't think that thing is ever going to be done. I think it's a perpetual project. And but are you guys done for the year? My guess is probably yes, but I don't know for sure. Let's see how far we get with this thing that we're working on right now. If we do get it done by the end of this week, then next week what I want to show you is we'll take that project and we're going to upload it. We're going to upload it. You're all going to sign up for a free account. You don't need anything to sign up. You don't need any credit cards. You don't need anything. So we're going to do that as a class. And we're going to do that very slowly. And ideally then, you're going to be able to point to that stuff right from your portfolio. Because again, the last week that you're in here, it'll be your time to get your portfolio. These portfolios are going to be graded harshly. The only time they're going to be graded harsher than this semester will be next semester. All right? So, for instance, many of you did a really good job on these MVC projects. All right? And but the thing is with some of you, and I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but you had the real nice menu on top. All right? If you're not going to be using that register and that login, you really should get rid of them. You understand what I'm saying? Anything that you have in there that you don't want somebody to potentially use, you shouldn't have on there. And it'll give you a chance that if, with some of you, let's put it this way. You may have used a Bootstrap class. I don't know what class, but you may have used a Bootstrap class, or you may have done some CSS, which is fine. Some of you, I just did CSS, which was okay. But some of you, it was basically just white with black text. I don't really want that. I want these things, not my saying, but other people have said this to me. I'm still out looking for a house. And every once in a while, I'll go out with the agent, and she'll go, oh, look at that. It makes it pop. I don't even know what the hell that is. But I want your stuff to pop. I want it to stand out so that when someone looks at it, all right, that they're like, wow, I want to hire this person. You also should be to the point. I can't make you do what I'm about to tell you. But you should all be to the point where you should be getting on at least weekly, going on to Indeed.com, all right, INDEED.com, putting in there where you want to work and the type of job you want, and start scanning through there. And if you find something that looks interesting, I'd start applying. Well, I got a semester left. I understand that. All right. But let's assume, and I think he's going to shake his head no, but let's assume that Ethan's goal is to get back to Kentucky and work in the town he used to work in, and they happen to have a job open there.
It's called Fancy Farm.
All right. But if he can do that, I would do everything I could to work with Charles and set it up so that you'd be able to take the course, for lack of better words, online. Now, I'm not saying, when I asked him about doing this before, he wasn't real open to that idea because he's afraid of setting a precedent that somebody else is going to say then, next time, well, why can't I take every course online? Except he's taping all of his classes. Why do I have to even come? All right. So I don't know, but what I'm saying is my thought is the goal of this institution is to get you all employed, and ideally get you all employed in this field. So if that happens, if your dream job comes along, I would do whatever I could to try to work with you, for your last semester. All right? All right. So these are the 10 parts. First part won't take long at all. It's an overview, and it's when we create the project. Then we go into controllers. Then we go into views and view models. Then models and data access. Parts 1, 2, and 3. Please listen. Look on the board if you want. I don't care. Parts 1, 2, and 3. We don't use a database. We hard code data in there, into the URL, which sucks. So in part 4, we bring in the database. But we're doing it the opposite. One of the reasons I like this project, we did the database first. Now we're doing code first. So you'll have had a chance to do both of these. So in part 4, we actually bring in the database. All right? I got all that stuff to work. Then in part 5, it's funny because that's when you're supposed to be able to edit. And when I try doing it exactly the way they show it, it comes up with an error. Now, it could be something I'm doing. So I thought, well, I'll circumvent that. I'll just, do some sleight of hand. And I can do that, but then it gives me an error in another place. All right? So like I said, my goal is to get through this, but not to blast through it. So the good news is when you're asked to put in a bunch of code, you'll be able to just copy it from the files that I sent you. Did you hear that? If you want to type it in, sometimes there'll be 50 or 60 lines. You can do that. All right? But that's what I've been doing, and it's worked just fine. So as we get into part 1, overview and file new project. With every single article, all 10, that stuff you see on the board there, that's identical. They're telling you that it's an MVC music store. All right, I actually went through this back when I was at Blackhawk in MVC 3. They're literally, if you care, and if you don't care, it's fine, but you can type in to Google MVC3 Music Store, and what I just gave you, those handouts, you can get them in as a PDF as well. But the PDF is not as up to date as these handouts are. I'm just telling you that right now. All right? So, and every single time it'll say what each part is covering right there. So, I don't want to sit and read to you, but notice it's an online tutorial. It's designed to be step by step. All right? So, there are not to be any surprises in here. In an ideal world, we'll get this to work. And this one, plus if I were you, I would take, I'm going to ask that you take somewhere in the area of a half dozen of your ASP.NET projects, and next week we're going to try to port those all up, and then you'll just point to them, for lack of better words, on your portfolio page. Okay, and they'll actually, Evan told me that he did do it with Azure, and I said, how did it work? And he goes, let's just put it this way, I had mixed success. Well, that didn't make me feel real good. So we're going to see how this works next week. We'll come up with something. All right? All right. So it doesn't exactly look like this, but I do want to mention a couple things to you. First thing, okay, there will be these 10 different genres that we'll eventually have over here of types of music. You might look at some of the selections they put in there and say, that's kind of weird. And some of it kind of is, but that's all right. If
Does it say
you,
the worst of?
pardon?
It says the worst of. The worst of minute order.
Yeah, there's junk like that. I mean, they've got some of the genres that are in there, like with reggae. Some of them only have got an album or two. All right. They don't actually have pictures of the albums. They just have a generic thing right there. Hopefully you realize how much work that could potentially be to go back and have to find album covers for all those. Could you do it? Sure you could. And I even thought of having you do it, to try to really make this project look complete. And I thought, well, geez, some of them you'll be able to find like this. Some of them you might not be able to find. And then I thought, well, if you can't find it, I'll just tell you to remove it from the database. And I thought, well, then some of you are going to have two or three records in your database. I just said the hell with it. All right. So, as it says, there's three main parts to this application. There's a shopping component, a checkout component, and an admin component. Here's the first thing. Look on the screen here or on your handout or wherever. Yeah. You put a promo code in there of free, you don't pay for anything. You're still able to put it into a shopping cart. Okay? The other thing I thought of doing was having you go out yourselves to PayPal, because if you go out to PayPal, PayPal's got a thing called a sandbox where you can literally, it'll take credit card numbers and do everything, and it acts as though it's PayPal-ish, but it doesn't actually submit your stuff to PayPal. You see what I'm saying? All right, so it's PayPal, but not really PayPal, for lack of better words. All right. We'll be able, as it says, then to go and look at these by genre. So if you look in here, they've chosen jazz. So they'll have each one of these, and you can see that it'll automatically give you a scroll bar. And the idea is when you click on one of these, it'll give you the information about that album. Does that make sense? All right. You can view a single album as it says there. So here we clicked on, what is this? Miles Davis, Miles Ahead. I don't think that one's even there. There it is. So we click on that one right there, and that brings us to here. Does that make sense? It's giving you individual information about that. And notice you can add it to the cart. And then notice it'll actually show you a cart. So it'll be a real cart. The only part we won't have is when you check out, you won't be charged. All right? Again, we could add that. You could add that if you wanted to. All right. Also notice, as it says, when you go and try to pay for it, it'll tell you that you have to register for an account. It's going out into nowhere land. It really doesn't matter. So, and you don't have to give anything in there. There's no credit card. There's nothing like that. Just a name and a password, and if you want to remember me, type of thing. All right? And once you've done that, then this is what it'll ask you. So here, it's asking you basically to register, all right? I'm sorry, to log in if you've already got an account, and to register if you don't have an account, all right? And they show the stuff that's in there. And it says, after ordering, you'll see a simple confirmation screen. All right, this is actually what's important right there, is that number. See the number on the screen where I've got the mouse? All right. It's some books call it a GUID, GUID, and it's a graphical user interface ID that's going to be created for us automatically. But the point is, you can go back into your database afterwards based on that number and find out about your order. All right, that's what's important about it. All right, so it says, in addition, we'll build an admin section that shows a list of, why is this important? Not anybody is going to be able to go in and add things to the database. Only an admin can. Doesn't that make sense? All right. It's like, well, you don't have this album. I wish you did. So I even though I'm a customer, I'm going to put it in there. No. All right. So that's what you do in that section. So we're taking it right from the top. Now, much of the stuff that's in here, much of the stuff, when we go through it, I'm going to say, hey, we don't do it like that anymore. Okay, because it was MVC 3. Also, if you look up on the screen here, notice part 7. You used to have to go in. I hated this part of the ASP.NET class more than anything else because I had to show people membership and authentication. and it never seemed to work right for everybody's computer. I would have everybody go in. There was a way you had to do it back in MVC3. It's been almost totally automated right now. You'll have to do almost none of that. What does that mean? That means we really have to spend about 5 minutes on part 7 of this. All right? That's fine with me. If you notice here too, it says you can follow along step by step, or you can download the completed application from MVC Music Store. Well, I've already done that, but since it's for MVC3, it doesn't run. Everybody hear that? Just so you know, it doesn't run. It's got a whole boatload of stuff in it for MVC3 that's totally different for MVC5. All right? So we're going to literally follow the steps here. So if you haven't done so, please make sure you get into Visual Studio 2015. All right? And again, I don't care that much where you do it, but eventually, hopefully, you're going to turn this in. So as it says there, we want to create a new project. And again, that's back in the way it looked for MVC3. So that was MVC3, so we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But I don't want you to do it quite yet, because I do want to show you something that's in there. And it's nothing big, but if we all go in now and do a file, new project. And I've already got a couple called Music Store because I've been working with this, but they want you to call this. This is what we're going to call it, because it'll make it nice and easy when you turn it in. I'll know exactly what to look for. All right? So we're going to call this Big M, Big V, Big C. So MVC Music Store with the M, the V, and the C capitalized, the M in music, and the S in store. No blank spaces. All right, I'm going to throw mine on my desktop. You throw yours wherever you want to, but please don't click OK when you're done. All right. The first thing is, if you have this checked, just uncheck it. All right. You may have it checked, you may not. What that's going to do is, it's basically, when you make that live, it'll give you emails and it'll put stuff out there as far as optimizing the project. It's fine the way it is. Second thing, first time, yes, create a new Git repository. Make sure that's checked. So both of these should be checked. All right. I'm going to want the ASP.NET web app. Why am I got web up here? Is that what we all have? I'm just losing it right now. Is that where you are? Or is yours? What? Yes? Yeah. Okay. Hopefully it'll be all right. I think it is. But the key thing is, call it that MVC Music Store. Save it someplace where you know you can grab it later. Make sure you've got a check mark by your Create Directory for Solution. Make sure you got a check mark for Create New Git Repository. And the way that you update this with Git is literally, it'll take you 2 seconds to realize what's going on. All right?
We don't have that
You don't have what?
Git repository.
You don't have Git Repository on yours?
It gives us a checkbox for add to source control instead.
Okay, then do that. All right. And as you'd guess, actually, I believe the way they have you do it in here, we're not going to choose MVC. I want to double check, but I want to make sure that was the one. I'm following their steps completely. All right. So we're going to choose empty, but we're going to make sure that the MVC here is checked. So empty and MVC. All right. This, if we did want to send it out to Azure, we would click in that checkbox right there. We're not going to do that. All right, we've had, some of you had luck with that and some of you didn't. So I'm trying to find an easier way that'll work better. All right. Now, normally, we're not going to have time to do unit tests, but Microsoft always suggests that you check that checkbox that's down there that says add unit test. You don't have to do it. It's basically going to add another folder onto your project that's going to be a unit test folder. All right, so everything is coordinated in one area. But make sure that it's empty and make sure the MVC is checked, and that should be it on here. And click OK, and the magic will happen. You know that over in your Solution Explorer over there, you're going to have a bunch of stuff there in just a couple minutes. Now this should look familiar to you, all right? But one thing to notice, if you take a look up on the screen, there's nothing in your controllers folder. There's nothing in your models folder, all right? If I go to views, there's just a web config. It truly is an empty project except for the fact, all right, except for the fact that it has the folder structure for you, all right? Now, in the book here, or the handout, whatever you want to call it, my hope is by now we don't have to go over this anymore, that you all have an understanding. If you ever decide that you want to, let's just say, and maybe it's true, maybe you're like, hell no. But if you ever want to try to do this for a living, be an ASP.NET programmer, they're going to expect that you know what each one of those things is. And I mean, that could be something that you would be asked almost immediately during an interview.
Why do we have lock icons next to our?
Why do you have what?
We have like a lock icon.
A lock icon? I don't know.
The web config file with the package.config. We don't.
I have it on my solution too.
I don't have that. All right.
You do.
Yeah, the blue locks next.
Oh, up here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm jumping ahead, but see this? See where it says Team Explorer down here? You should have that. Do you have that or not? All right. Guess what? That's where you save your changes for Git. We'll be in there. Okay. All right. Brady says that means that you're checked in for Git.
If you scroll over it, it says check in.
And I didn't even notice that was there. But you will notice that there'll be some coloring and some different stuff that will happen when we're doing this. Okay? Part 8, part 9, 7, there it is. All right. All right. And they do give some stuff, probably more information than I did. All right. And it mentions there that these folders are included because they use what's called convention over configuration. Long story short, what they're saying is, even if it's an empty project, you're going to want a models folder, you're going to want, etc. You're going to want all that stuff. All right? That is it for the first part. So I'm going to stop, okay? But we're going to go on in just a second. So let me